Hi everyone. So this is take two for me. I posted a video earlier, but then Dr. Van Voorhees posted his response to my video from last week. So I thought I would take this day extension to try to incorporate some of his advice. So hopefully this video is a little better. And I fidgeted a lot in my first video for this week, so maybe I'll fidget a little less in this one, but I make no promises. So I'm answering the questions for group 3, and the first two are, according to White in the Kamako text, what kinds of pollution create hazards where we live? Why are those different for some demographic groups? Many kinds of pollution create hazards where we live. Our air, water, and food can all be polluted, as well as our work environment. The amount of pollution we are subjected to does depend on our demographic area and where we live, and maybe our socioeconomic status. Kind of a personal example of pollution in the work environment. I have an uncle that passed away from mesothelioma, which he got by working with asbestos many years ago. And when he was diagnosed, I remember my mom telling me that we were really lucky that my grandpa wasn't also diagnosed with the same illness. He actually didn't work with any of the asbestos, and they worked at the same plant in Ohio, but my grandpa was a supervisor and my uncle wasn't, and that's really, kind of like the defining difference between their jobs. My grandpa was just higher up and my uncle wasn't. Poor areas and areas with large numbers of minorities tend to have more pollution. There can be many reasons for this. The people in these areas might lack the education to know just how harmful the air, water, and food that they're subjected to is. They also have less means of fighting the presence of pollution. The article talked about them not having a lot of political presence to kind of fight when these things are put there. Yeah. The school I attended for my undergrad is located in Athens, Ohio. That's where I live now. It's right in the middle of Appalachia. And for my first couple years of undergrad, I actually lived in Athens. But now we have kind of moved outside of Athens, more into the Appalachian area. So I see kind of a lot of examples of this in my daily life. What I kind of see there is that a lot of time the land near the landfills and the plants that's like the cheapest place to live. So maybe they just can't afford anywhere else, and that's kind of what they have to resort to. The next question for us is, according to Bookchin, what is an ecological society? I found the Bookchin piece a little harder to get through, but I think he's saying that an ecological society is one that returns to a different way of living, kind of a way of living that I think Leopold would encourage, which was living more with nature, having an organic society. Some of the traits he talked about is kind of humans living in communes with a lot of nature, and he talked about streams running through them and all different kinds of plants growing, and the animals living with the humans. He talks about that living in these communes would diminish the need for mass production, that we would start making goods that last through the years and don't need to replace all the time. My family has a refrigerator from 1968, and my dad always says that they don't make things like that nowadays. Nowadays, things are made to need replaced in a few years. He also says that work would be less industrial, more craft-like. The first thing this made me think of is maybe less manufactured or no manufactured jewelry, and instead handmade jewelry. My stepmom makes jewelry, so I always have bead bracelets on that she has made me. So what I'm kind of left wondering about the Bookchin piece is, what would be the motivation for living in an ecological society? Obviously, we can see the benefits and sustainability of it, but how can we convince other people to give up the lifestyle that they know? People who kind of live in the upper class, with like their more lavish lifestyles. How can we convince them that living in these communes is really the way to go? Or maybe it would just kind of happen that we are kind of forced to live this way, and I'm not sure. I guess that's kind of the part that I'm kind of wondering about. It does sound nice, but it just sounds like it would be really hard to convince people of that. So that's what I have this week, and hopefully I didn't fidget that much.